business ethics. Okay, yeah, get started. Thank you.
Welcome Miss Hong and you guys to our presentation. Today, Group 3 will present our very first topic, that is Chapter 2, Defining Business Ethics. Our group has 5 members, including Tuấn Duy, Cao
Okay,
Kỳ,
sorry.
Minh Quyền, Hương Thảo, and me, Ngọc Hồng.
Sorry.
And here's our table of contents.
Sorry, disrupt.
In our presentation.
Okay,
So,
sorry, disrupt.
First of all, how will determine the term of business ethics?
Em ơi, nghe cô nói không? Alo.
Dạ tụi em nghe cô ơi, bạn đó hồi nãy bị hư cái loa xíu.
Ok, rồi. Ok, quay lại cái slide đầu tiên em ghi tên chapter sai rồi, chapter 1, chapter 2 chứ không phải chapter 1. Okay, yes, okay, keep continue, thank you.
Giờ nói lại hả cô?
Em cứ bắt đầu thôi, không sao hết. Nói chung thì tới đâu mà bị sai á, nhiều khi lát nữa quay lại mà quên mất công lắm. Cô sẽ nói các em chỉnh sửa luôn. Rồi, ok, các em tiếp tục bài thuyết trình của các em.
Yeah.
First, I will talk about the definition of business ethics. Business ethics is the study of appropriate business policies and practices regarding potentially controversial subjects. It refers to the set of moral principles that guides a company's conduct and ensures that a certain basic level of trust exists between consumers and business. Many firms leverage business ethics not only to remain clean from a legal perspective, but also to boost their public image. Students of business ethics can approach the topic from these two distinct perspectives: a descriptive summation of the customs, attitudes, and rules that are observed within a company. As such, we are simply documenting what is happening. And a normative or prescriptive evaluation of the degree to which the observed custom, attitudes, and rules can be said to be ethical. Here, we are recommending what should be happening. In either cases, business ethics should not be applied as a separate set of moral standards from general ethics. Ethical behavior should be the same both inside and outside a business situation. By recognizing the challenging environment of organization, we can identify the troubling situation where personal values may be placed in direct conflict with the standard of behavior. Business ethics are important for a variety of reasons. First, it keeps the business working within the boundaries of the law, ensuring that they aren't committing crimes against their employees, customers, and consumers. It can also build trust between the business and consumers. If consumers feel that a firm can be trusted, they will tend to choose that company over its competitors. Being an ethical organization is also highly appealing to investors and shareholders. They will be more likely to sink money into the company, as following ethics can be a path to success for many firms. There are various types of business ethics, but we will just mention some of the more common business ethics, such as personal responsibility, corporate responsibility, loyalty, respect, trustworthiness, fairness, community and environmental responsibility. There are some examples of business ethics in life, The first one is data protection. Businesses often collect information about their customers. This may be email and physical address, health or financial information. Companies that collect customer data promise to secure that information and not share it without the customer permission. Business ethics protect employees' personnel records and allow access only to those with a valid need to know. Another one is customer prioritization. One way a business shows respect for its customer is by prioritizing the customer's needs, even at the expense of the company. For example, if a customer purchases goods or services that turn out to be unsatisfactory, the company will do what it must to recompense the customer. If it is a faulty product, the firm will offer a replacement or a refund. If the customer experiences bad service, the organization will usually apologize and offer a discount or some other form of compensation. And now I will identify an organization's stakeholders. A stakeholder is any individual or group whose interests affect or are affected by the operations of a company. To have a stake simply means that one's interests intersect with those of the business. Stakeholders might be thought of as features of a company's strategic location, as the firm seeks to navigate a path toward reaching its objectives. However, in business ethics, stakeholders are mainly thought of as sources or objects of a company's ethical duties. The higher the influence of the stakeholders, the greater the company's dependence on them. For example, shareholders. When they own a majority of the shares, it becomes increasingly difficult to make decisions without being influenced by the interests of the shareholders. Some types of corporate stakeholders would be shareholders, employees, customers, suppliers, retailers, government, and the community in which the corporation is located. The following table indicates some types of stakeholders as well as their interest in the organization. Stakeholders can be internal or external to an organization. Internal stakeholders are people whose interest in a company comes through a direct relationship, such as employment, ownership, or investment. They are significantly impacted by the associated concern and its performance. For example, if a venture capital firm decides to invest $5 million in a technology startup in return for 10% equity and significant influence, the firm becomes an internal stakeholder of the startup. External stakeholders are those who do not directly work with a company but are affected by the actions and outcomes of the business. Suppliers, creditors, and public groups are all considered external stakeholders. For example, when a company goes over the allowable limit of carbon emissions, the town in which the company is located is considered an external stakeholder because it is affected by the increased pollution. Stakeholders are important for a number of reasons. For internal stakeholders, they are crucial because the business operations rely on their ability to work together to achieve the company's goal. External stakeholders, on the other hand, can affect the business indirectly. For instance, customers can change their buying habits, suppliers can change their manufacturing and distribution practices, and government can modify laws and regulations. Ultimately, managing relationships with internal and external stakeholders is the key to a business long-term success. And next, Gwen will continue our presentation.
Okay, now we will discuss the position that business ethics is an oxymoron. First of all, we need to know what's an oxymoron. Oxymoron is known as a term or a phrase that has meaning combined by two words side by side that have opposite meanings. Here are some examples. The phrase crash landing means a failed landing of an aircraft. You may have seen this phrase in the Korean film Crash Landing on You. Or the phrase alone together means that a couple is by themselves together with each other but with no one else. And old news means that something everyone has already known or isn't important anymore. Back to the main point, there have been a large number of opinions about this topic since there are two opposing talks. According to the talks that agree with business ethics as an oxymoron because of the incompatibility between business and ethics. They both have distinct goals. Therefore, businesses should focus on what they do and leave ethics to the individuals. They believe that if a company had to choose between profit and doing the right thing, profit will always prevail. In reality, business decisions sometimes involve complex situations that require the choice between ethical and unethical practice. And in order to put the company's interests first, many leaders have chosen a strategy that is considered unethical but to secure the business benefits. In the marketplace, fierce competition and excluding competitors by harsh methods are obvious and frequent, so it is difficult to avoid reluctant confrontations. Aggressive rivalry raises a hierarchy that divides people into distant economic classes, causing those who are unable to compete to be eliminated. This is unethical since it does not provide everyone with equal opportunity. Nevertheless, that is the foundation for commercial success. For example, according to a Facebook report, about 7% of 1.4 billion accounts are fake. The creation of these fake profiles is for profit purpose. Through buying likes and followers, many stores can increase the credibility and objectivity of their products. And nowadays, a lot of shops on e-commerce sites frequently use phony reviews to trick buyers. Other stores even have a policy of paying customers for positive product ratings. Even market manipulation. Recently, in 2022, Google and Facebook are accused of concluding to dominate the advertising market. The dominance of the two giants leaves the customers and small companies constrained in the terms of profitability in eliminating digital advertising. During COVID-19 pandemic, the Bách Hóa Xanh brand was boycotted because this company arbitrarily raised product price and deceived customers. This is a manifestation of product price falsification. And for the talks that disagree with business ethics at an oxymoron, they believe ethical behavior is an important factor that builds a long-term strategy that can give a company competitive advantage over opponents. It would make a relationship more worthy between the manager and employees or between business partners by building trust and creating company value. And the managers or CEOs should be aware of the value their customers, shareholders, employees, and the societies receive as a result of their efforts, instead of focusing just on producing profit for the business. It's quite sound reasonable that a society business activities will likewise collapse if there are no minimal ethical norms in existence, and unethical practice will ruin a company's reputation in the long run. We can witness some businesses that grow thanks to their good reputation. According to RepTrak Ratings report, Netflix went from 24 in 2018 to 9 in 2019 as a newcomer to the top 10. The company has had an amazing growth trajectory with a 3-point increase in reputation that means 3 times the global average. Netflix were able to build reputation assurance through exemplary accountability as evidenced by its handling of sexual harassment allegations against Kevin Spacey from the hit show House of Cards. And while the computer industry has been represented actively in media in 2018, Microsoft has not only weathered the storm, but had risen 5 points to top 5 in the global rankings by establishing a product strength as competitive price points and remaining candid in the face of product bugs and updates. Microsoft was able to strengthen its reputation and maintain public trust. It is difficult to conclude that business ethics is an oxymoron but the corporate pursuit of profit can and should survive with the equality of focusing on both business and ethics and activities to gain the most profits for its company. Next, my teammate will present the history of business ethics.
And I will present several dramatic changes that have taken place in the business environment over the past 5 decades. In 1960, the reason of an employee voice had made individual employees feel more comfortable speaking out against actions of their employers that they feel to be irresponsible or unethical. They are also more willing to seek legal resolution for such issues as unsafe working conditions, harassment, discrimination, and invasion of privacy. In 1970, issues of corporate social responsibility has advanced from an abstract debate to a core performance assessment issue with clearly established legal liabilities. In 1980s, corporate ethics has moved from the domain of legal and human resource departments into the organizational mainstream with the appointment of corporate ethics officers with clear mandates. In 1990s, costs of ethics have matured from cosmetic public relations document into performance measurement documents had that an increasing number of organizations are now committing to share with on their stakeholders. In 2000s, the 2002 Japanese Australia Act has introduced greater accountability for chief executive officer and also director in signing on the financial performance records of the organization they represent. And Kỳ Nguyễn will continue our presentations.
And next part, the ethical dilemma. The ethical dilemma is the situation in which there is no obvious right or wrong. There is right or wrong decision, but rather a right or wrong answer. Conflict ties can be grouped into 4 categories. First, trust versus loyalty. The leader in the tech dissemination, she know their friends copy the letter of the others, but when the teacher asked, she hide the trust and protect their friends to got the high score. Second, short term versus long term, and the friends let friends copy the test and have him have the high grades in each time, but if it happen in a long time, it will be have a lot of consequences later on. Third, justice versus mercy. The teaching assistant will raise 0 points or ignore the student who copy homework of other students in class. The last one, individual versus community. Will you accept to receive 0 points or cheating, and is able to make your whole team get 0 points? And there are 3 solution principles can be considered. First, and base. Which decision would provide the greatest good for the greatest number of people? Second, rules based. What would happen if everyone make the same decision as you? And last but not least, the golden rules. Do you do unto the others as you would have done unto you? And next part, just define the ethical behaviors. First, you want to eat the cake without actually baking it yourself. Many times, we as managers want to have the full release of an ethical success without even giving a thought as to how ethical is it and what would the impact beyond the time morals. Second, the unethical idea may be yours, but you want to take it on someone else. We tend to make decisions that look like it has been taken on lots of team members even thought it's a grandchild. Third, your interest was valuable, your convenience and not the context in which it was said. Twisting words and actions and resenting is in a context which shows us rather than resenting is in a context in which was stated or done just because it's not your interest or give away the credit to someone else. 4. You want to achieve something unethical but want a different proponent. You find a task to be tough and the means to achieve that task together. So the easy way to out a bypass compliance and still make it look as done by someone else, just in case the move backfires. 5th, you see your team member as a competitor and want to work on Darwin principle, survival of the fittest. You do not have a vantage point over your team members, and the best way to survive and maintain your position is attributing the wrong things to your team member and taking the credit of good things as your decision. And final ones, you make a false commitment knowing fully that it will never be honored. You make a promise to your team fully knowing that you can honor it, but you justify it as something which were needed to keep the team members' confidence alive. Hence, unethical behavior can create a real undesirable environment in what could roughly be a very healthy contributing team. That is the end of our presentation. Thank teachers and everyone for listening our presentation. We are happy and welcome to answer your question. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so thank you for this group presentation. Okay, so thank you for this group presentation. I highly appreciate your effort on this presentation. I recognize your teamwork within this presentation and preparation. So it's very good. Okay, you are the strong point from your presentation that you read the books, understand the main knowledge in this chapter and try to write the appropriate examples to illustrate your understanding, and your friends may learn a lot from your presentation. I think all of the class should go back to read the books again. The length of each chapter in business ethics is not too long. It's not too difficult to understand, easy to understand. you understand the main terminology, the main content in each chapter, and follow the presentation and the lecture note and my teaching in class, and easy to get the main points from each chapter. Okay, thank you for this presentation. Yeah, so now I just view my we look through my my lecture note a bit, right? Okay, thank you. Okay, so you can set lecture note chapter 2, right? Your friends cover the main contents in this chapter already. Okay, so last semester I also have the group assignments in class, like COVID-19 vaccine patents, right? Okay. Okay, please pay attention on the history, the brief history of the business ethics, and you just follow this table from the decades to the decades, right? In 1960s, 1970s, and 1980s. And when you read in details, you can see that in 1960 they growing concern over the power and influence of the military industry complex led to social unrest and anti-war protests, increased consumer activisms, and the development of the more adverse roles relationship between employees and management, like pollution. Okay, you can read some key points like pollution, profit over people, civil rights, product safety, and the job security. You can see that at the present time, the war, the tension between Ukraine and Russia also have the significant impact on the oil price, right? Or fuel price. Oh, yeah, this is the war, the impact, the negative impact of the war and the tensions between two countries or two continents or two groups, right? Big groups. And in 1970, you should remember these keywords related to ethical dilemmas like pollution, labor issue like workplace safety, wage equality, forced labor, covering up unethical conduct, or to protect corporate image, right? And in 1980s, saving and loan scandal, briberies and corruption in international contracts, waste and fraud in government contracting and defense spending, right? And in 1990s, like financial fraud, avoidance of regulation by opening manufacturing plants in developing countries, corporate liability for personal damage, right? And these examples in certain corporation like Dow Chemical, Big Tobacco. And 2000s, cybercrime, falsifying financial reports, privacy issues like data mining, identity protections, international corruption, loss of privacy, employees versus employers, right? So I think this column is very, very important, helps you to get the main keywords, right, related to ethical dilemmas in within this period. Okay, I could talk about weather making water pollution in Vietnam, right? This Thị Vải river, right? You can see the dilemmas when opening the factory, right? Produce seasoning like Vedan, right? On the positive impacts, they brought jobs to the local residents, right? The local citizens, right, in this region. But in the negative impacts, they caused water pollution, right, directly to Thị Vải rivers. And you can see this is the news in 2014. Okay, I read in Vietnamese. Sông Thị Vải hồi sinh Hơn 6 năm trước, sông Thị Vải nằm ở hạ lưu thuộc lưu vực sông Đồng Nai, được ví như là dòng sông chết do chất thải của các cái nhà máy chưa qua xử lý, xả thải trực tiếp ra sông. Nhưng với sự vào cuộc nỗ lực của cả cộng đồng, dòng sông chết đang trong xanh trở lại, những nguồn thủy sản trở về theo từng con nước, tạo việc làm và thu nhập ổn định cho người dân. Right? And the environment Vietnam river pollution scandals World Cup coal. Okay. Ho Chi Minh City, December 2008, the rising levels of pollution in Vietnam waterways has been common knowledge for years. But in October, it became a public scandal after Vedan, the Taiwanese maker of MSG, or we can call monosodium glutamate, another name of bột ngọt, right? Umami seasonings, right? Confessed to discharging toxic waste through hidden pipes into a rivers for years. The river used to be clean and full of fish. Okay, said by Trần Bạch, 67 years old, who has lived for his entire life in Long Thọ, a village on the bank of the rivers, the waterway at the center of the scandal. 15 years ago, he said that he could catch about 50 kilograms of fish per day, enough to support his family of five people in his household. With too many factory built along the bank, the river is now so dirty and polluted that we can no longer drink its water and catch any fish from it. He complained. Now the riverbed is full of waste, and it has become narrow or shallow. So your friends already presented resolving ethical dilemmas, right? Please remember N-based, rule-based, and the golden rules. And justifying unethical behavior, believe that the activity is within reasonable ethical and legal limits. Believe that the activity is in the individual or the corporation best interest. Believe that the activity is safe because it will never be found out or publicized, and believe that because the activity helps the company, it will be condemned and perpetrators will be protected. And last semester, I introduced the group assignments just in class. During the COVID-19 pandemic, COVID-19 patent, right? The skeptical over like what is the right choice, lifting or waivers, like summarizing the main content and making your own arguments, and watching the YouTube videos like the video one, coronavirus, US support lifting COVID-19 vaccine patents. And in the video 2, Germany skeptical over the vaccine patent wires. And video 3, right? WCOs to consider vaccine patent wire again, right? And video 8, it is time to consider the patent wire for COVID-19 vaccine. You can see that when we lift the patents of the COVID vaccine, it brings the public benefit for everyone, right? Utilitarianism, right? Okay, so for those who are interested in patent vaccine, okay, you can spend time to watch these videos and read the article, and also search with the key points COVID-19 vaccines, and lifting the vaccine patents, okay, on the internet, and search for more information on the internet. Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much. Okay, so let's take a break for 10 minutes and then come back with our class. Thank you. Mỹ Anh hả? Rồi, đợi cô. Rồi, sau break nha Mỹ Anh. Group 1 sẽ chia sẻ thêm thông tin ha về các cái quốc gia cho phép tiêm thuốc để chết ha. Rồi, ok, sau break nha. Rồi, cảm ơn em. Rồi. Okay, so okay, please come back our class. Last week I give a small talk to group number 2, right? Next week, group number 2 should share some information expanded from early suicide. Tìm hiểu các cái quốc gia nào chấp nhận và cho phép tiêm thuốc để chết. Tại các quốc gia này thì giá trị cuộc sống, social value, cultural values, value system là như thế nào ha? Okay, so please welcome group number 2, right? For your sharing. Thank you.
So, can anybody hear me clearly?
Okay, I can hear you. Okay, get started. Thank you.
So last week, the teacher asked us to discuss about which and what countries allow with people to suicide, support them to suicide. So they are our results. First is Switzerland. Talking about assisted suicide, Switzerland is often one of the first countries approaching our minds. Swiss people are allowed to end life as long as they receive permission from doctors without the requirement of age, symptoms, or diagnosis. Nevertheless, euthanasia can be considered illegal if its original motive is self-interest, such as causing death for a sooner inheritance or avoiding the duty to take care of that sick person. Assisted suicide is believed to be more and more popular in this country in the near future, since the Swiss government has just approved Coco, a cocoon-shaped machine that provides euthanasia for people to put in use in 2022. So this is Coco. People from Switzerland have a long tradition of freedom. Moreover, the well-known motto "Unity, yes, uniformity, no" of Swiss encourage them to be open-minded, collaborative, but respect others' perceptions in all social aspects, and Trento, that is not an exception. The second one is Netherlands. Netherlands has authorized euthanasia since 2001 for those people who experience an unbearable pain and have no chance to improve. Especially children with 12 years of age older can request assisted dying, but those under 16 need parental consent. Regarding the core social value in the Netherlands, freedom, equality, and solidarity play a central role. Talking about freedom, it is about speaking their own minds, choosing any lifestyle, and the right to self-determination. Hence, Schindler Dutch prioritizes freedom of humans. They believe that patients have the right to make their own end-of-life decisions when they have to suffer substantial deterioration. The third one is Australia. In Australia, Victoria has become the first state of legalizing the right to die for people with serious illness. Under the new law, which took effect in mid-2019, terminally ill people who are over 18 years old and have less than 6 months to live are entitled to euthanasia through injection of toxic drugs. However, to be approved in die in this form, the person must be an adult of self-determination, be a Victorian resident, and suffer from an illness with the potential to survive less than 6 months or 12 months. When it comes to basic social values, Australians pursue a set of shared values including respect, equality, and freedom. As long as it is within the laws, people freedom in Australia is undertaken in different aspects of life, such as religion, speech, association, etc. And the right for Victorians to enter that may even stem from this life value as well. The final is America.
physician-assisted death illegal in 10 states in the U.S. For example, like Washington, D.C., California, Hawaii, etc. Via legislation and court ruling. America has long been famous for the Statue of Liberty. Undoubtedly, the primary American culture is individual freedom and self-reliance. Back in 1776, the British colonial settlers declared their independence from England and established a new nation, the United States of America. They wrote in their Declaration of Independence, wrote in 1776, he holds this truth to be self-evident, that all men have created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. As we can see, individual freedom has been the most basic of the American values since the early days. Nonetheless, freedom comes along with self-reliance. Individuals must learn to rely on themselves, take responsibility, and solve their own problems. In the U.S., teenagers are usually independent from their parents as early as possible, usually by age 18 or 21. In short, American people values individual freedom and self-reliance. Thus, this is understandable that 10 states in America legalized the right to die. So that is the end of our sharing group. Thank you for listening.
Okay, so thank you for this presentation. Okay, can you share the screen a bit? Okay. Okay. Thank you for this presentation. Right. Just the group assignments, right? Not group assignment, but my assignments gives to you. Expanded from chapter to from your group presentation about early suicide, right? You can see that your friends already write down the keywords. Tiêm thuốc để chết, đúng không? Euthanasia, countries allow euthanasia. Okay, thank you for this group sharing. Okay, I'll give 100 points for this group today for your sharing and your seeking information about euthanasia, right? And you can see that the strong relationship between the social values, right? And the social norm and the justice in certain country, right? And now I would like to expand a little bit on another group assignment. Rồi, chắc là cô cảm ơn nhóm ha đã tìm những cái tài liệu cũng như là chia sẻ với group của mình với lớp ha về cái topic mà cô đã mở rộng ha trong quá trình các em present thuyết trình về early suicide. Em sẽ thấy là có rất là nhiều nguyên nhân, lý do tại sao người già họ không muốn sống nữa, đúng không? Họ không muốn làm phiền tới con cái, đúng không? Thay vì là để cái số tiền đó vào trong viện dưỡng lão rồi chăm sóc sức khỏe rất là tốn tiền, họ nghĩ là họ sẽ gọi là gì ta, để lại số tiền của họ cho con họ hoặc là cho cháu của họ thì có vẻ là tốt hơn, đúng không? Đó, tuy nhiên thì em sẽ thấy là về mặt đạo đức nói chung thì chúng ta cũng không nên kết liễu một cuộc đời của một con người, đúng không các em? Nói chung là chúng ta sẽ sống cho đến khi không còn sống nữa đúng không? Chứ không có sai ha. Rồi, tuy nhiên thì với cái cách tiếp cận khác thì một số quốc gia cũng đồng ý là cho phép là tiêm thuốc để chết ha, và bạn mình đã tìm ra được cái từ khóa là euthanasia ha. Các em sẽ thấy là nếu như mà mình biết được cái quốc gia đó họ cho phép là một con người có thể lựa chọn sống hay chết, đúng không? Tuy nhiên thì chúng ta cũng cần phải xem lại coi là cái value, social values, những cái giá trị cuộc sống mà quốc gia cũng như là những người dân ở quốc gia đó họ hướng tới là gì. Như cô đã nói rồi, một số quốc gia rất là thù như Bắc Âu đi, họ sẽ hướng tới sự bình vững, họ sẽ hướng tới là happiness, đó là sự hạnh phúc của con người, đúng không các em? Rồi ngoài ra thì bạn mình cũng có tìm freedom nữa, tự do, đúng không? Rồi bạn mình có tìm hiểu về nước Úc và nước Mỹ ha. Rồi bây giờ cô sẽ có một cái phần mở rộng một chút ha, là về drug use ha, drug use and ethics. Rồi nhóm nào muốn làm group assignment này ha? Tuy nhiên sẽ có thời gian cho các em chuẩn bị tuần sau hoặc là trong cái tuần 4, không phải tuần sau là chương chapter 3 sẽ thuyết trình, đúng không? Tuần 4 là cô dạy về corporate social responsibility rồi. Tới cái ngày mà học cái chương 4 thì các em thuyết trình cũng được. Cô đặt một cái câu hỏi là drug use and ethics. Drug use có nghĩa là ma túy các em ha. Rồi và cái chất gây nghiện thì các em sẽ thấy là có những quốc gia họ cho phép sử dụng chất gây nghiện ha, và có những quốc gia họ hoàn toàn không cho phép sử dụng những chất gây nghiện này. Các em tìm hiểu về một cái loại thuốc, khi mà chúng ta biết được đó là thuốc điều trị bệnh hay là chất gây nghiện thì định nghĩa nó như thế nào ha, và các em sẽ liên kết với cái vấn đề về ethics ha cho cô. Ví dụ như đối với vấn đề về ma túy thì ở Mỹ, ở trong một số trường hợp đặc biệt thì người ta cũng sẽ cho người dân sử dụng ha, nói chung là sử dụng bình thường thôi. Tuy nhiên thì ở Việt Nam các em sẽ thấy là không cho phép sử dụng và nghiêm cấm bán buôn ma túy ha. Rồi những khi mà mình sử dụng ma túy thì cũng được coi là một cái hành vi lệ lạc. Tuy nhiên thì trong y tế ma túy cũng những cái chất gây nghiện đó cũng có một số cái, và nó có một vài cái lợi ích nhất định trong việc điều trị bệnh ha, cũng như là giảm đau ha cho người bệnh. Rồi nhóm nào muốn làm về vấn đề này? Trong quá trình làm, nếu như mà các em cần cô hỗ trợ thì chúng ta có thể cùng thảo luận để mình hỗ trợ ha. Rồi có nhóm nào không? Drug use and ethics. Rồi hiện tại thì chắc là các em cũng đang thảo luận, đúng không? Rồi các em có thể suy nghĩ, các em có thể báo lại cho cô sau cũng được, không sao hết ha. Rồi okay. Ok, nếu như không còn những cái trao đổi gì thì chắc là lớp học của chúng ta sẽ kết thúc tại đây ha. Cảm ơn các em. Về cái topic drug use and ethics thì chắc là cô sẽ dành thời gian cho các nhóm suy nghĩ ha. Và nếu như nhóm nào muốn làm thì có thể phản hồi trực tiếp qua chat này cũng được, không sao hết ha, hoặc là gửi riêng cho private chat cho cô ha. Chắc là cô cũng sẽ dành thời gian còn lại của lớp học để cho các nhóm sẽ suy nghĩ ha, rồi có thể đưa ra lựa chọn của mình ha. Rồi cảm ơn các em. Rồi các bạn nhóm 5 có ở đây không? Có thể ở lại xong rồi trao đổi với cô về cái group assignment này. Rồi xin mời các em. Nhóm 5 có ở đây không? Phước đúng không? Kim Phước đúng không? Rồi em xem coi nhóm nhóm em có ở đây không? Rồi có gì cô trao đổi luôn. Vẫn còn thời gian trong lớp mà. Rồi vậy thì nhóm 5 sẽ làm ha. Rồi cảm ơn em. Rồi khi nào nhóm 5 vào đủ rồi thì báo với cô nha Phước ơi.
Dạ cô.
Cảm ơn em. Chào Nguyên. Rồi chắc là các thành viên của nhóm 5 sẽ mở micro lên trao đổi với cô ha. Khi nào nhóm 5 có ai để cô coi trong danh sách coi nhóm 5 có ai. Rồi cô thấy nhóm 5 là có Bùi Thảo Nguyên, Nguyễn Thị Ngọc Mỹ, Huỳnh Kim Phước, Trần Mai Ngân và Nguyễn Ngô Đình Phan. Các em có đây hết không?
Có ạ.
Rồi chào em. Rồi nhóm 5 vào đủ hết chưa em?
Dạ còn thiếu một bạn ở cô.
Em nói bạn đó vào luôn đi rồi mình trao đổi luôn ha. Rồi cảm ơn em.
Dạ.
Rồi có gì báo cô nha Phước. Rồi.
Dạ. Dạ cô ơi.
Sao em, chào em.
Dạ bạn Nguyên bạn có chút việc chút bạn vào sau á cô, nên là chắc.
Rồi không sao. Rồi nếu như rồi ok, nếu đủ rồi thì ấy thôi. Bạn Đào Nhật Hùng có phải ở trong nhóm em không?
Dạ không ạ.
Không hả? Rồi ok, vậy thì chắc là cô sẽ rồi. Hùng ơi, em có đây không Hùng? Vậy cô sẽ remove from the meeting nhá. Rồi, Huỳnh Thị Ngọc My, có phải không? Huỳnh Thị Ngọc Mỹ hay Ngọc My á?
Dạ phải cô.
Rồi, Ngô Nguyễn Đình Phan, phải đúng không?
Dạ.
Rồi, Trần Mai Ngân.
Dạ.
Trần Mai Ngân, phải rồi đúng không?
Dạ.
Hùng ơi, em... alo Hùng ơi, đang thảo luận nhóm một tí. Cô cần thảo luận với nhóm 5 một tí thôi. Kết thúc buổi học rồi Hùng ơi.
Dạ.
Rồi, chào em ha. Rồi, chắc bạn này tên là Hưng. Rồi, cảm ơn em. Rồi, ok. Nguyễn Thị Thiên Ý có phải nhóm em không Phước?
Dạ. Nguyễn Thị gì cô?
Thiên Ý.
Dạ không ạ.
Không hả? Rồi, chắc là cô sẽ remove bạn này ha. Rồi, để cho chúng ta thảo luận ha. Rồi, hiện tại thì có Phước nè, My nè, Phan với lại Mai Ngân là các bạn trong nhóm đúng không? Rồi, cô đưa ra một cái đề tài là Drug Use and Ethics ha. Rồi, chắc là các em cho cô biết các em hiểu gì về ma túy. Xin mời các em. Ma túy và các chất gây nghiện. Xin mời các em. Cứ thoải mái trao đổi nha. Cô sẽ định hướng cách làm cho các em.
Dạ thưa cô, ma túy là các chất có nguồn gốc tự nhiên hoặc tổng hợp mà khi mà nó xâm nhập vào cơ thể